what exactly has happened. Initially, we all thought perhaps he had maybe got lost up the mountain, but the fact that no one has seen him, there's been no trace of him on that mountain, and the police and the mountain rescue have gone through that ravine with a fine tooth comb. You have to begin to ask yourself, as the family are beginning to as well, has someone possibly taken him? Because
I got nightmares in my head, I fear the thoughts build up until I can't hear. My mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. I got nightmares in my head, I fear.
Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. Well, it is day 9 in the search for Jay Slater, the 19-year-old that is still missing in Tenerife. You heard the voice there of Nick Pisa from the Mail Online. Of course, one needs to bear in mind that Pisa is kind of a arch McCann apologist, and he's been behind a lot of the coverage on Christian Bruckner, someone who's totally unrelated to the McCann case, and it's all, did Christian Bruckner take Madeleine? And now it's the same thing all over again. It's inevitable that it would gravitate to, did someone take Jay Slater? We can't see him, so it must mean he was kidnapped. Is that a reasonable inference? And so the same in the same sort of situation applies to the Spanish cops. After 9 days, they don't have much of a choice, I guess. They simply have to look into all alternatives. Everyone does, in a sense. They've already interviewed Lucy at length, the Spanish cops, and it's unfortunate the men Jay spent his final hours with have skedaddled. So that leaves, besides the actual search, dealing with Jay's backstory. Now, the Spanish police searching for Jay are investigating his background to determine whether it is relevant to his disappearance. That's according to Mail Online. Well, hopefully now that Mail Online have mentioned this, the conspiracy crowd can stop barking about Jay isn't as innocent as he's being portrayed and the media pretending not to know about this aspect. Have a heart, guys. Is that too much to ask? The priority should still be to find Jay and reserve judgment until after he's found. You know, his life could very well be on the line. And we are once again in that familiar territory that we were in the Nicola Bully case. You're looking for someone, can't find them. Because you can't find them, well, it must be foul play. And I think there are a lot of people who still believe that. Because they couldn't find Nicola for a long time, that must mean it's foul play. Did you know there's a woman, Gloria Clark, who went missing on New Year's Day? It took 3 months to find her. She went missing on New Year's Day. She was only found in that river in March. There's no foul play about her because it's just simply not a high-profile case. And they actually had CCTV of her entering the river. And so in terms of this, the priority should be to find Jay and reserve judgment. Now, speaking of heart, it's heartbreaking to see what Warren, Jay's dad, has been up to lately. I mean, it's understandable. The boy's father is desperate. Who wouldn't be? And he's clinging to any hope there is. Despite the cops not giving any credit to the blurry CCTV image, what about you? Do you think that's Jay? Jay was apparently spotted, according to certain people, in a town something like 3 or 6 miles from where he was staying. And Jay's dad has now been sharing this image in the hopes that it might lead to something. Do you think it will? Before we get to that, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. Welcome to the many of you who have subscribed. If you're enjoying this content, please like, share, leave a comment. You can also hit the thanks button, and let's continue. So, what do you think of that blurry image? Do you think it's legit? Do you think it's legit? Now, the thing that doesn't really make sense about the whole thing is Jay had been missing for 10 hours when this image was taken. So had he walked, instead of the 10 hours to the south, he just walked to the town next door. Well, then if he's in the town next door, why not call Lucy again? Why not make his presence known? And so the key word in terms of all of that is that he was seen in a town nearby. Now, if Jay had been walking for 10 hours, the time between his last call and when it was captured on CCTV, if he'd survived the episode, why would he still be nearby? Why would he need 10 hours to be nearby? I think the other thing about that is 10 hours would presumably give someone enough time to think about taking that image. That's another aspect. And so one must also ask, is the image legit? It reminds me of the ridiculous Tanner sighting in the Madeleine McCann case, a faceless man that was described as an egg with hair. The blur is almost as bad. I don't think the blur is of any use, do you? More pertinently, how has the Mail Online dealt with Jay's run-in with the law? Have they done it by wagging their fingers in the middle of a missing person search? And I don't know whether I would think of the Mail Online as a kind of a moral authority. And yet even this publication deals with it with, I think, some much needed emotional intelligence. They say the Mail Online can now reveal that Jay was previously involved in a machete attack that left a man fighting for his life. And that's a fairly sensitive way, diplomatic way of referring to it. Certainly not the tone that we're seeing on social media, the accusatory tone, right? I'm pretty sure Mail Online made sure to check that the rumors were accurate first before publishing anything, hence their words, can now reveal, where social media revealed it at the first possible moment. That's one of the little protocols reporters and publications have to deal with that social media simply doesn't bother with. And that suits many people just fine. It doesn't suit me very well, because it means you can just say whatever you want with no consequences. Well, does that mean what you're saying is the truth? Details of the attack have been posted on social media sites appealing for help in tracking Jay down, and many have described his disappearance as karma. Can you believe it? This is karma. I have to say, I've been in true crime for a while, and I'm pretty shocked, I'm pretty appalled at how heartless and just plain nasty some of the folks I've seen have been. Even Jay's mother took a swipe at what she referred to as the British public, some section of it anyway, for their lack of support. She said, "This may happen to you one day. I'm very let down by you all." It's obviously not everyone, it's just some. Why do you think there's so much suspicion around this case when there was none around the Madeleine McCann case? I mean, to begin with, Madeleine's disappearance was far more sinister and hard to explain. But it's not all bad. I think we can take a collective leaf out of the Machete attack victims' handbook in how to approach this case. The Mail refers to this, I've already put it on my channel, that they refer to the Facebook message, the gang's magnanimous, that's kind-hearted victim, Mr. Hilton said, "Whoever is writing on these TikToks, give it a rest. This young lad's missing and his family's heartbroken." So even he, who would have every right to bear a grudge, to bear animus, is forgiving. It's actually really good to see Hilton setting an example to his fellow Brits, if only they'd follow. So much for the notion of a conspiracy of silence by both the police and the mainstream media. Social media are going to have to get off that track now that it's been dealt with. Or some sort of vendetta or grudge from the victim. Like them and like him, I simply didn't place this high on the list of priorities, and neither do the cops that are there on the ground. Whereas some folks in social media made sure to make this their highest priority. I don't really want to get distracted from my analysis of this by dealing with the nonsense going on online, but look at the words used here. Amateur sleuths have sparked a carnival of hysteria and chaos, spreading false, wild, and malicious theories, including the sick idea that he faked his disappearance. Look at all of these words: hysterical, malicious, sick. Raise your hand if you are part of that crowd. Sis. Sis, as we'd say in South Africa. It means, it's an expression of disgust. Sisman. Meanwhile, Jay's mother Debbie is convinced her son has been taken and appealed to anyone who was holding him to let him go. We're back into the Madeleine McCann thing. Britain seems to have been indoctrinated with the idea that Madeleine was taken. And so if someone disappears, they had to have been taken. Does anyone know what the crime statistics are for Tenerife? Do they matter? Does it matter that it's very low? Or do you suddenly just decide that it's not because it suits you? And so Jay's mother said, what happened in court is irrelevant. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time. What matters more than anything is that my son is missing and we need to find him. The search for Jay continues. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.